The Galactic Combat Institute on Vexor Prime didn't just train warriors. It forged legends. At least, that's what the Hollow Banners claimed in 17 different languages as recruits stumbled off transport ships, their eyes wide with equal parts terror and ambition. Kira Valdez wasn't stumbling. She walked down the landing ramp with her duffel slung over one shoulder, her boots hitting the metallic deck with deliberate confidence. Around her, aliens of every conceivable species clustered in nervous groups, towering Kryn with their 4 arms and crystalline exoskeletons, sleek Vorothai whose bodies seemed to shimmer between solid and liquid states, even a few Gorith, those massive reptilian brutes whose smallest members stood at 8 feet tall. And then there was Kira, 5'6", human, alone. Well. The voice slithered from behind her, dripping with condescension. Did someone's pet get loose in the cargo hold? Kira didn't turn around immediately. She finished adjusting her bag, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make it uncomfortable. When she finally glanced over her shoulder, she found herself looking up at a Gorith named Thex. His scales were a deep emerald green, and his yellow eyes gleamed with predatory amusement. "Funny," Kira said, her voice flat. "Your mother said the same thing when you were born, except she was asking seriously." A few nearby recruits, those brave enough or stupid enough, snickered. Thex's jaw tensed, his nostrils flaring. Before he could respond, a sharp whistle cut to the hangar. "Recruits, form up, now!" The voice belonged to Commander Zrel, a Vorothai whose reputation preceded him like a funeral procession. He had trained 11 generations of combat specialists, and rumor had it he'd personally killed twice that many in actual warfare. His semi-liquid form held a vaguely humanoid shape, but it constantly shifted, as if his body couldn't quite decide what it wanted to be. "Welcome to the GCI," Zrel announced, his voice echoing unnaturally in the vast space. "You are here because someone, somewhere, thought you might have potential. I am here to prove them wrong. Most of you will wash out in the first month. Some of you will leave on stretchers. A rare few will graduate. Any questions?" Nobody spoke. "Smart move. Good. Follow me to the barracks. Tomorrow your real education begins." The barracks turned out to be a massive circular structure divided into pods. Each pod housed 20 recruits, their bunks arranged in a spoke pattern around a central common area. Kira found herself assigned to Pod 7, which meant she got to spend her night surrounded by Thex and his crew of Gorith admirers, plus a mixed group of other species who all seemed to share one thing in common. They all thought humans were a joke. That first night, as Kira organized her footlocker, she felt eyes on her. Lots of eyes. "I heard humans have hollow bones," someone whispered loudly. A Kryn named Jalix, judging by the voice. "Like birds. That's why they're so weak." "That's not true," another voice chimed in. "They just have pathetic muscle density. I read that their strongest individuals can barely lift twice their body weight." "Twice?" Thex laughed, the sound like rocks grinding together. "I can lift 20 times my weight. My youngest hatchling can lift 5 times. Humans don't belong in combat training. They belong in admin departments, filing reports, making coffee." Kira slammed her footlocker shut. The metallic clang silenced the pod. "You know what's funny about assumptions?" she said, turning to face the group. Her expression remained neutral, almost bored. "They make you look stupid right before you get proven wrong. But hey, don't let me interrupt. Please, continue explaining my species to me. I'm learning so much." Thex rose from his bunk, his massive form casting a shadow that swallowed Kira whole. "You've got a mouth, little human. Let's see if your body can back it up." "Tomorrow," Kira said simply, "save it for the simulators. Unless you're scared you might lose to someone with hollow bones." The tension crackled like electricity. For a moment, it seemed like Thex might throw the first punch right there. But Commander Zrel's words echoed in everyone's mind. Fighting outside of sanctioned training meant immediate expulsion. Thex knew it. Kira knew it. "Tomorrow," Thex agreed, his smile revealing rows of serrated teeth. "I'm going to enjoy this." Morning came too early and too loud. A blaring alarm jerked everyone awake at what the chronometer claimed was 0500 hours, but felt like the middle of the night. Recruits stumbled into their training gear, a form-fitting black material that adjusted to each species' unique physiology. Breakfast was a gray protein sludge that tasted like disappointment with a hint of metal. Kira forced it down, ignoring the commentary from nearby tables about whether humans could even digest proper food. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for, the simulator hall. The hall was enormous, easily the size of 10 football fields. The ceiling arched so high it disappeared into shadow. Along the walls, various training stations promised different kinds of suffering. Zero-gravity combat spheres, tactical maze runs, weapons proficiency ranges, and in the center, dominating everything else, stood the gate. The gate wasn't actually a doorway. It was a massive rectangular frame made of some dark alloy, standing 30 feet tall and 20 feet wide. Suspended within the frame by electromagnetic fields was a solid barrier that weighed exactly 5,000 pounds. The test was simple. Lift it, move it from the locked position at the bottom to the open position at the top. Most species trained for months before attempting it. The average success rate was 40%. All right, maggots. Commander Zrell's voice boomed through the hall. Today you learn what real strength means. Not the kind you brag about in the barracks. The kind that matters when your squad is trapped behind a blast door and the only thing between them and evac is your ability to force it open. He gestured to the gate. You'll each get your chance throughout the training cycle. Today, we're establishing baselines. Who wants to go first? Thex's hand shot up immediately. I'll show these weaklings how it's done. Confident, Zrell observed. Confidence gets people killed. But go ahead. Thex approached the gate like a champion entering an arena. He cracked his knuckles, rolled his massive shoulders, and positioned himself beneath the barrier. His forearms gripped the designated handholds. Lift, Zrell commanded. Thex roared. The sound was primal, aggressive, meant to intimidate. His muscles bulged beneath his scales. The barrier shuddered. Inch by grinding inch, it began to rise. Sweat beaded on his hide. His arms trembled, but he didn't stop. Higher, higher, until finally, with one last explosive effort, the barrier locked into the open position. The hall erupted in cheers. Thex stepped back, chest heaving, basking in the approval. 6.3 seconds, Zrell announced. Not bad for a first attempt. Next. One by one, recruits tried and either succeeded or failed. Jalix managed it in 8 seconds. A Vorthai named Shen did it in 7, but nearly collapsed afterward. Others couldn't budge it at all and slunk away in shame. Then Zrell's eyes found Kira. Human, you're up. The cheers died. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Kira felt every eye in the hall lock onto her as she walked toward the gate. The whispers followed her every step. No way she can do it. Humans don't have the strength. This is going to be embarrassing. Should we call medical now? Kira ignored them all. She stood before the gate, studying it. 5,000 pounds. The barrier looked even bigger up close. She could feel the electromagnetic field humming, could smell the ozone in the air. Whenever you're ready, Zrell said. There was no mockery in his tone, no encouragement either, just neutral observation. Kira positioned her hands on the grips. They were spaced for larger species, which meant her arms were stretched wider than comfortable. She adjusted her stance, planting her feet. Then she took a breath. And another. Are you going to actually try? Thex called out. Or just stand there looking pathetic? Kira smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that promised consequences. You know what's funny? She said loudly, her voice carrying across the hall. Every single one of you looks at me and sees limits, sees weakness, sees something breakable. She tightened her grip. That's your first mistake. Lift, Zrell commanded. Kira pulled. Nothing happened. The barrier didn't budge. Laughter started to ripple through the crowd. See? They seemed to say. We knew it. Humans are too weak. But Kira wasn't done. She adjusted her grip, changed her breathing, and pulled again. Still nothing. The laughter grew louder. Thex cupped his hands around his mouth. Give up, human. Save yourself the humiliation. Kira's jaw set. Her eyes narrowed. Something shifted in her expression. Something cold and determined and absolutely unyielding. She pulled, really pulled, not with just her arms but with her legs, her core, every muscle fiber in her body working in perfect synchronization. Her face flushed red with effort. Veins stood out on her neck. Her teeth ground together, and the barrier moved. Just an inch. Then two. The laughter stopped. The hall went silent. Kira's arm shook violently. Her legs quivered. But she didn't stop. Higher. The electromagnetic field whined in protest. Higher. Her breath came in sharp gasps. Higher. Sweat poured down her face. Impossible, someone whispered. Kira heard it, fed off it, pulled harder. The barrier climbed faster now, as if it had finally accepted that this human wasn't giving up. 6 inches from the lock position. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Clang. The barrier locked into place. Kira let go and staggered backward, her chest heaving, her arms hanging limp at her sides. For a moment, she thought she might collapse. Then Commander Zrell's voice cut through the stunned silence. 9.7 seconds. Kira straightened slowly, fighting to control her breathing. She turned to face the crowd of shocked recruits. Her eyes found Thex. Sorry, she said between gasps. What was that about hollow bones? The hall erupted, some in cheers, some in disbelief. But everyone, absolutely everyone, looked at the small human with new eyes. Thex's expression had frozen somewhere between anger and confusion. You cheated somehow. That's not possible. File a complaint. Kira shot back. I'll wait. Oh, wait, you can't. Because I just did what you said I couldn't. Zrell's voice silenced everyone. That's enough. Valdez, adequate performance. Thex, insecurity doesn't look good on anyone. Everyone else, back to your stations. We have 8 more hours of training. As the crowd dispersed, Kira caught a reflection in a polished metal panel. Her face was still flushed, her hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. She looked exhausted. She looked pushed to her absolute limit. She looked alive. And tomorrow, she'd do it all over again. The next 3 weeks turned into a masterclass in psychological warfare, and Kira found herself at the center of it. After the gate incident, the other recruits split into 2 camps. The first camp treated her with cautious respect, like she was a bomb that might explode if handled incorrectly. The second camp, led by Thex and his gored disciples, made it their personal mission to prove her success was a fluke. They sabotaged her equipment. Mysteriously, her training rifle would malfunction during marksmanship drills. Her environmental suit developed leaks before underwater combat exercises. Her nutrition packs got swapped with expired ones that tasted like fermented garbage and caused stomach cramps that lasted for hours. Kira said nothing. She fixed her rifle. She patched her suit. She ate the terrible food and kept training. Because here's what Thex and his crew didn't understand about humans. Humanity didn't conquer Earth by being the strongest or the fastest or the most poisonous. They did it by being the most stubborn, spiteful, and creatively vindictive species our planet had ever produced. Revenge wasn't a dish best served cold. It was best served with a smile and perfect timing. That timing came during the 4th week, when Commander Zrell announced the Gauntlet Run. Every recruit had to complete it. The Gauntlet was a 3-mile obstacle course through the Institute's wilderness preserve, filled with environmental hazards, combat drones, and traps designed by sadists with advanced engineering degrees. Partnerships are mandatory, Zrell explained during the briefing. You'll be assigned a partner. You succeed together or you fail together. Failure means both of you run it again tomorrow. And the day after that until you succeed or wash out. A hollow display flickered to life, showing the team assignments. Kira scanned the list, her stomach sinking as she found her name. Kira Valdez. Partner, Thex Gorath. Perfect. Just absolutely perfect. Thex looked equally thrilled. When their eyes met across the briefing room, his expression promised misery. The next morning, 40 pairs of recruits stood at the Gauntlet's starting line. The course stretched into the forest ahead, marked by orange beacons that glowed against the early dawn light. Somewhere in that forest waited mud pits, climbing walls, electrical barriers, stun drones, and a final obstacle that changed every cycle so nobody could prepare for it. Zrel hovered near the starting line, his liquid form looking almost cheerful. Remember, your time starts when both partners cross the starting beacon and ends when both partners cross the finish. If one of you falls behind, you both lose. Begin on my mark. Kira glanced at Thex. He refused to look at her. Listen, she said quietly. I know you hate me. That's fine. But for the next hour, can we just focus on not failing? Stay out of my way, human. Thex growled. Try to keep up. 3. Zrel counted down. 2, 1, go. 40 pairs exploded forward. Kira's legs pumped hard, keeping pace with Thex's longer stride. The first obstacle appeared quickly, a cargo net stretched between two trees, angled at 45 degrees. Most teams hit it together, climbing in sync. Thex reached it first and launched himself upward, his forearms making quick work of the net. He didn't wait, didn't look back, just climbed and dropped over the other side. Kira bit back a curse and attacked the net. Her arms burned. Her fingers found purchase in the rough rope. Up, faster, over the top and sliding down the other side, hitting the ground in a controlled roll. Thex was already 20 meters ahead. The second obstacle was a mud pit with barbed wire canopies strung 2 feet above the surface. You had to crawl through on your belly, keeping low to avoid the wire while the mud sucked at your body like quicksand with a grudge. Thex dove in without hesitation, his low profile and powerful arms pulling him through rapidly. Kira hit the mud seconds later. It was cold and thick and smelled like something had died in it. Probably something had. She kept her head down, her elbows digging for purchase, dragging herself forward inch by miserable inch. Halfway through, she heard Thex shout, "Too slow, human. You're going to make us fail." Kira's jaw clenched. She pulled harder, ignoring the wire that scraped her back, ignoring the mud filling her nose and mouth. She emerged on the other side, looking like a swamp creature, spitting dirt. Thex was waiting, his foot tapping impatiently. Pathetic. Save it, Kira snapped. We're not even halfway done. The next kilometer was a brutal sprint through uneven terrain. Roots tried to trip them. Branches slapped faces. Stun drones buzzed overhead, firing low-power shots that felt like being punched by electricity. One caught Kira in the shoulder, and her left arm went numb for 30 seconds. She kept running anyway, cradling the useless limb against her chest until feeling returned. Then came the wall. 15 feet of smooth composite material with minimal handholds. Most teams helped each other here. One partner would boost the other up, then get pulled up in return. Thex studied the wall for 2 seconds, then jumped. His powerful legs launched him high enough to grab a hold 8 feet up. From there, his forearms made it look easy. He scaled the wall in seconds and disappeared over the top. Kira stared up at the wall. Without a boost, she'd have to find another way. She backed up, judged the distance, and ran. 3 steps from the wall. She jumped, her fingers catching the lowest hold. She hung there, feet scrabbling for purchase. Her arms screamed. Her fingers slipped. She caught herself at the last second and hauled upward with everything she had. One hold, then another. Her muscles felt like they were tearing. Her breath came in ragged gasps. But she climbed, reached the top, threw herself over, and landed hard on the other side. Thex was already running again. "You know," Kira shouted after him, "there's this thing called teamwork. You might have heard of it." Thex didn't respond, didn't slow down. Fine, if that's how he wanted to play it. The electrical barrier came next, a field of vertical energy beams that pulse in patterns. Touch one, and you get shocked hard enough to drop you. The trick was timing. Watch the pattern. Move between the pulses. Most importantly, communicate with your partner so you didn't both get stuck on opposite sides. Thex charged the barrier without warning, his eyes tracking the pulses. He moved with surprising grace for something his size, sliding between the beams like water. Clear. Gone. Kira watched the pattern. 5-second intervals. Left beams first, then right, then left again. She timed her breathing to match. Left pulse, right pulse. Now, she ran. The first beam missed her by inches. The second nearly caught her hip. She twisted, ducked, and rolled through the last section. Made it. Barely. Her hands were shaking now. Not from fear. From exhaustion and something darker. Anger. They were 3/4 through the course. The finish beacon glowed in the distance, maybe half a mile away. Between here and there lay the final obstacle, hidden behind a rise in the terrain. Kira crested the rise and stopped dead. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. The final obstacle was another gate, smaller than the one in the simulator hall, but still massive. 10 feet tall, 3,000 pounds of solid barrier, suspended in an electromagnetic frame. A sign next to it read, "Both partners must lift together." Timer stops when barrier locks open, and both partners cross finish line. Thex stared at it, his expression unreadable. For the first time since the race started, he looked uncertain. "Well," Kira said, walking up beside him, "looks like you need me after all. Funny how that works." "Shut up," Thex muttered, but there was no heat in it, just worry. They approached the gate together. This time, the grips were positioned for 2 people, one on each side. The design forced partners to coordinate, to pull in sync, or the barrier would bind and refuse to move. Kira took her position. Thex took his. They locked eyes across the frame. "On 3, Kira suggested. Thex nodded reluctantly. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. They pulled. The barrier shuddered but didn't rise. Kira adjusted her grip. "You're pulling too fast. Match my rhythm." "Your rhythm is too slow." Thex shot back. "Then we find a middle ground. Genius." Again. 1, 2, 3. They pulled. This time, the barrier rose an inch, then stopped. "More power on your side," Thex grunted. "More control on yours," Kira countered. "You're jerking it." Smooth pulls. Again. 1, 2, 3. The barrier rose 6 inches. Then a foot. Their arms shook in unison. Sweat dripped from both of them. "Keep going," Kira gasped. "Don't stop." "Wasn't planning to," Thex growled, but his voice had changed. Less hostile, more focused. Higher. The barrier climbed. 2 feet, 3 feet, halfway there. Kira's vision started to blur at the edges. Her arms felt like they might separate from her shoulders. "Almost there," Thex said. Was that encouragement in his voice? Impossible. "Keep pulling," Kira managed. 4 feet, 5 feet. The lock was inches away. With one final synchronized heave, the barrier slammed into the open position. The electromagnetic lock engaged with a satisfying clang. Both of them stumbled backward, gasping. For 3 seconds, they just stood there, bent over, hands on knees, try to remember how breathing worked. Then Kira looked up, looked at Thex. Finish line? Thex met her eyes. Something passed between them. Not friendship, not even like, but understanding, respect. "Together," he said. They ran side by side, their exhausted legs eating up the final distance. The finish beacon grew larger. Other teams were already there, collapsed in victorious heaps. Kira and Thex crossed the line simultaneously and immediately fell over. Commander Zrell's voice drifted down from somewhere above. "Valdez and Thex. 47 minutes, 18 seconds. Adequate." Kira started laughing. She couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all. The pain. The exhaustion. That stupid word. Adequate. She laughed until her ribs hurt. After a moment, she heard another sound, deep and rumbling. Thex was laughing too. "You're insane," he said between gasps. "Completely insane. Takes one to know one," Kira replied. "So, we done trying to kill each other?" Thex was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I still think humans are weak." "Cool. I still think Gorits are arrogant blowhards." "Fair." They lay there in silence, watching clouds drift past. "But," Thex added slowly, "maybe weak is relative. And maybe arrogant isn't always bad," Kira conceded. Sometimes you need that confidence. Truce. Thex extended one of his massive hands. Kira looked at him, then reached out and clasped his hand with both of hers. Truce. But if you sabotage my equipment again, I'm putting hot sauce in your protein packs. How did you know that was me? Please, you're about as subtle as a meteor strike. Thex actually smiled. It was terrifying, all those teeth, but genuine. Your rifle tomorrow will work perfectly. Promise. Good. Because next week is live fire exercises, and I'd hate to accidentally shoot you because my weapon malfunctioned. That sounds like a threat. Observation. Totally different. Over the following months, something unexpected happened. Kira didn't just survive the GCI. She thrived, and having Thex as an ally instead of an enemy made all the difference. He stopped the sabotage, started offering tips on heavy weapons handling, even defended her when other recruits questioned her abilities. In return, Kira taught him about human tactics, improvisation, creative problem-solving, how to turn weakness into advantage. By graduation day, they'd become the most effective partnership in their class. Not because they were the strongest individually, but because they'd learned what Commander Zrel had been trying to teach them all along. Real strength wasn't about muscles or power. It was about adaptation, cooperation, refusing to quit when everyone expected you to fail. As Kira stood on the graduation platform, her new combat specialist insignia gleaming on her uniform, she caught Thex's eye in the crowd. He nodded once. She nodded back. They'd started as enemies, became reluctant partners, and ended as something neither of them expected. Friends. Speech. Someone called from the crowd. The human should give a speech. Kira stepped forward, surprised. Me? Why me? Because you proved everyone wrong. Jalix shouted. Tell us how you did it. Kira smiled. Not the cold smile from that first day at the gate. A real one. You want to know the secret? There isn't one. I just refused to believe I couldn't. And when everyone said I was too weak, I decided to show them what weak really means. It means giving up. It means letting other people define your limits. I'm not weak. None of us are. We're GCI graduates. We're warriors. And we're going to remind the galaxy why you should never underestimate someone just because they don't look strong. The applause was deafening. Even Thex was clapping, all four hands working overtime. Later, at the celebration, Thex approached with 2 drinks. He handed one to Kira. To proving people wrong. Kira clinked her glass against his. To new friends and old prejudices dying hard. Your species is still weird, Thex added. Your species still has terrible fashion sense. Those scales clash horribly. That's it. Truce is off. Bring it. Big guy. I'll hoist you like a simulator gate. They both laughed, the sound carrying across the celebration. And somewhere, Commander Zrel watched them with what might have been satisfaction rippling through his liquid form. Another cycle complete. Another batch of warriors ready for the galaxy. And maybe, just maybe, one small human had taught them all something important. Never confuse size with strength. Never mistake difference for weakness. And never, ever tell a human they can't do something. Because spite is one hell of a motivator, and humanity had been fueled by it since the beginning. Too weak, they said. Then she hoisted the gate all alone. And then she did so much more.